Are you a sassy cow? I don't know about you, but if someone called me a cow, there's a very good chance that I would take offense. Would I feel any differently if someone put the word sassy in front of it? As in, you're such a sassy cow? Until recently, I would think that the words sassy and cow both had a negative connotation. But now I feel differently, and today I'm going to tell you why. This is the Wishing You Well podcast, and I'm Maria Patrick, your host. I'm a holistic health coach, and I'm always on the lookout for the ways in which we can improve our lives and our health, and doing so through natural means. I spent last week out in the Midwest, and if you know anything about that part of the United States, it's different in many ways, particularly from New York, which is where I was born, raised, and have always lived. Midwesterners are known for their charm, their gracious hospitality, the affordable cost of living, the vast open spaces, and a more relaxed and stress-free pace of life. On my half-day drive out there, I lose track every time I make the trip of how many farms I pass on my route. The traffic jams are caused by tractors and not cars. There are more cornfields than there are Fortune 500 companies, and sitting on the front porch is a common pastime. One of the things that I enjoyed tremendously on my recent trip was this brand new ice cream shop. It's a mom and pop business, which in and of itself is quite charming. But you add in the extra element that it's most definitely a phone and computer free zone. We've talked about that in previous podcasts. And all of a sudden, a small dish of ice cream turns into a Zen experience. They play soft music in the background. They've decorated the shop with old-fashioned objects like cash registers and antique games. They have tables and chairs everywhere, taking up every square inch of both of their indoor and outdoor spaces. And they've installed shelves and cabinets, which they've filled with games. The patrons are strongly encouraged to take a seat, keep their electronics tucked away, open up a game or two or three, or a book or two or three, and stay a while. It's such a special place. It's one of those places that makes you wish you were the owner and the operator. I've only been there a few times, and I have said each time, oh, this is the kind of business I would like to run. I'm now on a first-name basis with the owners after just a few visits, which says a lot about Lynn and Tim Murphy. It tells you what they're like. They're passionate about this business that they've built and how well it's been received. The fact that it's slower pace, relaxed environment, putting away the cell phones and the laptops, the community has actually embraced it. They made a point of telling me that they have absolutely no social media or any type of media presence. They've refused interviews, both television and print. They haven't done any advertising. They're very excited about the fact that their dream has come true. One of the things that they're also particularly excited and passionate about is their Sassy Cows. Yes, believe it or not, there are cows known as Sassy Cows. And according to the Murphys, the reason that the ice cream they serve is so fresh and so creamy and so delicious is because of the Sassy Cows. Tim and Lynn went on quite the journey, the search to find the perfect dairy farm. They searched high and low where they were going to get their ice cream from. And what it involved was a lot of travel around the state of Wisconsin. And they interviewed many farmers, and they taste tested a lot of the milk, the cream, the ice cream. Their search ended as soon as they met the Sassy Cows. The dairy farmers whom they chose have a strong belief that the best dairy products come from the milk of cows which are well cared for, respected, treated properly, and happy. And apparently Sassy Cows are happy cows. What does this mean? What does it mean to us? It means that the farmers have developed their herd using only organic practices. The cows eat a a diet of organic grasses, which have not been treated with pesticides or herbicides or commercial fertilizers. The cows are not injected with bovine growth hormones or any antibiotics. They're allowed to roam free on the 1,700-acre farm, and they listen to classical music. Yes, you heard that right. Classical music is played for the cows, which apparently does the same thing for them that it does for us. It lowers their stress and cortisol levels, it increases their happiness, and the result is that cows are able to naturally and easily produce high quality milk without any intervention. This particular dairy farm pasteurizes and bottles their own milk so it doesn't get pooled in with that of other farms, and they make their ice cream in very small batches, just 20 quarts at a time. The result is something that's so delicious and so amazing that it can make an ice cream lover out of someone like me who has been dairy-free for quite some time now. Researchers have found that cows tend to produce more milk when certain types of music is played, particularly classical music, just like Beethoven and Mozart. According to the findings of the research, the music keeps the cows calm because it drowns out the background noise, the busyness from the farm. While playing music for their cows isn't something that every farm does, it's not a typical practice. We would have heard about it if it was. Some farmers have taken the results of these researchers very seriously, and they've installed high-priced music systems in the barns to keep their cows soothed and relaxed. What this particular dairy farm has found is that the cows are more productive. They produce more milk when they are stimulated by the sounds of the classical music. I'm not exactly sure the origin story of this practice. I don't think it was discovered and first initially practiced by this farm in Wisconsin. I did a little bit of research and I found an article about a farmer in Turkey named Mehmet who started an experiment many years ago with his own cows. He played different kinds of music out through speakers and really cranked up the speakers at specific times during the day in the life of the cows, and he did it in order to see if it would increase their milk yield. And his thought was that if the music can relax humans, very stressed out humans, that it would do the same thing with animals. And his experiment was successful. It resulted in his cows on his farm in Turkey producing more milk, particularly when they listened to classical music. And his findings were that classical music therapy, even though it was just played a few hours every day, increased the milk yield of his cows by 5%. So what he decided to do was that he would actually significantly increase the time that he would play the music every day, and once again saw that not only did the cows yield more milk, but that their health problems decreased. There was a veterinarian in Turkey who was interviewed for the same article that farmer Mehmet was interviewed for, and he said that his suggestion to the farmer was that they should, in addition to playing the classical music, start giving the animals massages and see what effect that would have. The emphasis on animal welfare and farm conditions is something that we could and all should pay attention to. We want the animals to be healthy and peaceful, and when we see the results that they can be both healthy and peaceful, physiologically and psychologically, by listening to classical music, using classical music therapy, we can see that doing this same thing for ourselves will have as wonderful an effect, listening to relaxing classical music tunes. So, what do you think that classical music can do for you? And this is why I wanted to talk about this today, because classical music, while it is a pleasant background noise, it can actually make you healthier. And this is what we're going to talk about. How you could be healthier, smarter, and get a better night's sleep and lower your blood pressure at the same time. So we'll go through this. Classical music helps you to relax. Listening to classical music has been known and shown to decrease your cortisol levels. It also increases the release of dopamine. We've talked about dopamine before. That's the feel-good neurotransmitter in your brain. And when you're producing more dopamine, your stress levels go down, particularly because of the way you respond to stress. You respond better. When we listen to music, our moods improve, we feel happier. Listening to classical music can improve your memory. There's a group of researchers who tracked people for decades, and they concluded that the participants who were musicians, so if you're a musician, you're playing and listening to music on a regular basis, many hours a day, the musicians had much better performance on memory recall tests than those who were not musicians and or not exposed to hours of music every day. The study showed that the more classical music that had been played, the better their memory test scores had been. Classical music helps you to sleep. Classical music is an easy, inexpensive remedy for the sleep problems that so many of us are plagued with. When you combine classical music with better sleep hygiene, meaning sleeping in a dark room, using an eye mask, using room darkening shades, lowering the temperature to just the right temperature, that it not only will help you sleep better, fall asleep more quickly, sleep more soundly, and have an evening of uninterrupted sleep, but it also triggers deep inside of us the hormones that help us to recover and heal. This is something that I've studied a lot about in my dive into Chinese medicine and how much healing happens while we're sleeping. And that there's a particular study from the Journal of Critical Care that was done back in 2015, almost 10 years ago, that monitored patients who were recovering from cardiac surgery. And they found that those patients recovered better, partly because they slept better, because of listening to classical music every day. They say that the reason that the classical music works better than other types of music, because you may want to fall asleep to your favorite rock album, they say that it's more beneficial to the brain because music with words and music with upbeat tempos require your brain to get involved. Your brain actually starts to multitask as it actively responds to the music, which makes it difficult to quickly and fully fall asleep. Classical music, because it's slow tempo, it's soothing, it's has no lyrics, it makes it great to prepare both your brain and your body for sleep. You want to find music that has a regular rhythm, that has tranquil melodies, that has a low pitch. And a sure sign that you need this classical music therapy is if you're waking up multiple times in the night or you're waking up exhausted in the morning. So when we improve our sleep patterns, that in and of itself is going to help your health because it's going to help reduce your stress, lower your blood pressure, and give you an overall improved sense of mental well-being. Studies have also taken a close look at how classical music can help people with their difficult day-to-day lives. And interestingly, the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra in London studied this in 2020 when they were part of the world lockdown. And they did tests on people who were dealing with what we were all dealing with at the time and had such high levels of stress and anxiety. And they took a group of participants that would agree to listen to classical music for hours every day during the lockdown. And it showed that of the people who took part in the study, that the music, despite how anxious and stressed they were, helped them to feel relaxed and calmer during the lockdown and that their spirits were lifted. There's a neurochemical response in our body to stress. And what we keep hearing is that the role that music can play in this can help us to eliminate something that is reaching its own pandemic type levels, and that is depression. So when we strive to improve our mental health, we can comfort ourselves and heal ourselves and get the neurotransmitters in our brain to work for us and produce those happy hormones by listening to the classical music. I mentioned this before, but part of classical music's stress-reducing powers and ability lies in the fact that it can actually lower your blood pressure. There's so many negative effects to having high blood pressure. When our blood pressure is too high, there's extra strain put on our blood vessels. It also puts extreme pressure and stress on your heart and your other organs, neighboring organs, your kidneys. Your brain is impacted. Your eyes are impacted. I recently had an eye exam, and one of the things that they look for when they examine your eyes with their high-tech machines is your blood pressure and your blood sugar, both of which they can detect by examining your eyes. When we experience persistent high blood pressure, it can increase our risk of getting a lot of the serious and potentially life-threatening diseases and heart and health conditions like heart attacks and strokes and kidney disease and dementia. Classical music lowers the blood pressure. It's been called the Mozart effect. And what the studies have shown is that it can markedly lower both the systolic and the diastolic blood pressure, the upper and the lower rates. And that when you listen to music with the upbeat tempo, you're not going to get the same effect, that you need the calming effect of classical music to lower the blood pressure. Music like jazz can also work, maybe even your favorite tunes, but choose the instrumental versions. The vagus nerve, that's the main nerve in your parasympathetic nervous system. That little nerve is responsible for controlling many of your bodily functions, your heart rate, your digestion, your immune system. The vagus nerve is located near the eardrum, so it makes sense that it would respond to the soothing vibrations of the music and that it would trigger our body's relaxation response. This is something that you might not realize, that classical music can also improve your physical movement. So we're talking about how it can impact your brain and your waves in your brain for producing happy hormones. But there have been studies done by Harvard that said that stroke survivors more quickly regained their movement and speech after having had their strokes through the Mozart effect, the musical therapy of listening to classical music. There's something that the researchers said about the repeated pulse, the relaxing pulse of the classical music that activated the neurons in the brain. It's that steady, soothing rhythm that apparently is what activates your not only your auditory systems in your body, but also your motor systems. They've also used the Mozart effect very successfully with patients who have early onset Alzheimer's and dementia. They found that people who were able to listen to music regularly, this is where sometimes the music with lyrics is very beneficial as well, because they found that the people were able to recall the music and sing more easily and regain the memories that they've lost. And for the stroke patients, the speech that they've lost, they were able to do this in a surprisingly high number of cases. Listening to classical music regularly can also relieve our pain. The benefits of this is that when we suffer from pain, it acts as a trigger for many other processes in the body, including our cardiovascular system and our respiratory system. and that when you play music, and in this case, they specifically found that it's Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata and Mozart's Sonata for two pianos that had a significant result in reducing pain. It might be that it's just reducing your perception of pain, but what they noticed was that heart rates were decreased, oxygen saturation was improved, and that post-injury recovery was quicker. They said that the low frequencies, regular rhythm of those songs that were very rich in harmonies can be funneled into pain management and elimination because these same neurons in the brain are now activated and being used for pain reduction. You've heard this one, and I was a big believer of this when my boys were infants. Classical music can make you smarter. It doesn't necessarily boost your IQ, is what the studies have said, the researchers have shown, but that there is a significant link between music and cognition. I played Baby Einstein to my sons starting in utero and all through their infant and toddler years. And what we found, the research has said, is that the cognitive tasks in people who listen to regularly to classical music are improved. That as we said before, your memory is stronger because the increase in the dopamine in the body affects those neuroconnections, which keeps your brain stimulated and healthier. And that when your memory is stronger, that you will retain what you're trying to learn longer. And therefore, you're going to score significantly higher on quizzes and exams. You're going to remember the things that you may have even crammed to learn. And therefore, you're boosting your brain power and seeming smarter. Again, it's not necessarily going to increase your IQ, but it's going to enhance your learning and your memory. Good things to do for the brain at any age, not just infants and toddlers. How about classical music's impact on boosting your immunity? We always want to have our body responding well to disease, to pathogens, to triggers. We want our body's defense against infection to be working at peak performance at all times. We want our immune system to be able to produce the antibodies that will attack whatever's causing our illnesses. And so when our immune system is relaxed and our stress and anxiety are alleviated, the overall inflammation in our body is going to go down. And the biomarkers that are involved in our body's immune response system are going to work better for us. We learned from the Sassy Cows that classical music also makes us more productive. The music helps to make repetitive tasks easier. And this is why many places where we go, you can even think maybe about your doctor's office or your dentist's office, where they are listening to music while they're working, that the atmosphere is calmer, the person performing the tasks less stressed, and that the people, let's say you are at the dentist's office, that's a high stress environment, that you will feel more relaxed and less stressed while they're working on you. So not only will the productivity increase, but the mood of the workers and the people surrounded by the music will be improved. I love listening to music. My home is often filled with it. I installed a speaker system that connects through every room in my home. And as I said before, I played classical music to my sons from the very earliest stages. And I can tell you that not only is our home calmer when it's filled with music, but that music has been what's helped us to prepare ourselves for every challenging life experience that's come our way. My son, one of my sons, is a classical piano player, and he would, instead of cramming for exams, always listen to classical music and play for hours on end on his piano before every exam, every public speaking engagement, every interview, and that it's helped him with all of these challenging life experiences. So my wellness prescription for you this week is to tune out the noise and to tune into the soothing sounds of classical music. The next time you want to sleep better, feel less stressed, boost your immune system, increase your productivity, you know what to do. You may actually find yourself feeling smarter, feeling happier, sleeping more soundly, being more productive in your work, and you might even find yourself feeling a little bit sassy. Thank you so very much for tuning in today. Until next time, and as always, I am wishing you well.